I think we do so in the next 5 minutes so that we don't disrupt the flow of things. Okay, my name is Conrad Mukangana. I'm the company secretary for BNC. Before we get started, let me introduce you to the board members who are here. To my right, immediate right, is Mr. Muchade Masunda. He's the chairman of the board of directors of BNC. To his right is Mr. Bajirai Manando, the managing director of BNC. And on my left is Mr. Toindepi Muganyi. He's the director of BNC and is the group CEO of ASA Resource Group, also running Frederick Becker as the CEO. So the order of march, as it were, is that the MD is going to give us an overview of the operations, and the finance manager, who is sitting in front of all of us, Simon Masupe is the finance manager. He's taking.
Is our president. It was by 400 versus last year 6,500 tons. Cost of sales 39.5 million, which was 14% higher than last year, mainly due to increase in local supply cost, as well as equipment costs related due to equipment aging. As an organization, we will continue implementing cost savings we were implementing cost savings initiative during the previous year, and we'll continue doing that. Gross profit in line with the revenue and the increase in cost of sales, it was 30% below what we reported last year. Other income above 200% due to mainly the improvement on export incentive. The marketing costs, no change. Admin costs, 88% more than what we reported last year, mainly due to the issue of cost escalation, as explained above, as well as some impairment loss on other receivables. Then we've got a net exchange gain of 16.9 million due to currency changes during the year, and we ended up with a net profit of operating profit of 21.3. Net finance costs were higher by 200%, mainly due to the expensing of bond interest, which was previously being capitalized. Then in terms of the bottom line, attributable profit, we ended it with the 13.5 million, 131% higher than the 5.8 million reported last year. Then on the balance sheet, total retained earnings, I think the increase is due to the profit, which I explained in the previous slide. Then on non-current liabilities, these are mainly comprised of the non-current portion of the bond and the asset financing facilities, as well as the environmental rehabilitation provision. These were 31% at 90.2 million, 31% below what the previous year. Current liabilities, again, were 30% down, mainly because of repayments as well as the exchange translations. Then in terms of PPE, almost at the same level, at 2% below what we reported last year. Current assets at 22 million were 200% below what we recorded last year due to decrease in cash balances and receivables. Then cash flow summary, operating cash flow was 8.8 million versus 11.7 million reported last year due to the effect of the cost increase. Then in terms of cash from operations, it was 8.7 million, just 4% above what we reported last year. And servicing of finance, it was at 2.9 million, 200% above what we reported last time due to the issue of compound interest, which was expensed this year, as explained. Then in terms of investing activities, 1.9 million, mainly due to stay in business capex. Financing activities, these are mainly loan repayments during the year, and we ended up with a cash increase of 700,000 and we ended with a cash closing balance of negative 2 million, which is an improvement of 700,000. Thank you.
Thanks, Simon. Like I said, on the smelter, we are still where we were. We didn't do much in terms of that project because the fundamentals, as far as nickel price is concerned, do not support the commissioning of the smelter. So we made a deliberate decision to try and recapitalize the mine in terms of the mobile equipment mainly, and also you will be aware that we are carrying out a deepening project at Trojan. We have channeled most of the resources towards the Trojan mine project so that even when the smelter runs, there will be adequate feedstock. We continue to talk to various parties in terms of augmenting whatever is going to come from Trojan as a concentrate to make sure that the smelter capacity, when it runs, is fully utilized. And just to refresh your memories in terms of bond, we're looking at a range of nickel prices from 16,000 to all the way up to $21,000 per ton of nickel, and we've not seen these prices yet. This just shows you in terms of what our projections were, and the obtaining LME nickel price. This was the projection. So there's a huge gap in terms of where we thought we would be if we're going to run to this and where we are now. Hence the decision to say, as long as we haven't realized the high nickel prices, the smelter remains packed because it won't make money. It will actually worsen the business case. In terms of the resources, for Trojan mine, we have about 71,000 tons of contained nickel. And let me hasten to say that this ore body is open-ended at depth, and as I speak, we continue to do on-mine exploration, and we are continuing to see the high grades even at much lower levels, which compels us to actually embark on another deepening project after we finish this one, because there is a lot of ore still Trojan mine. Shangani mine, sitting on 65,000 tons of nickel, and this mine is continues to be on care maintenance. It's packed. Anders Road,
200,000 people, I'm sure we'll be embarking on a massive project to start Analyst mine. We also have a prospect called Dambasolwani, which is quite close to Shangani mine, and in there we're going to be doing some test work in terms of the treatability of that ore. But there's also a similar amount of nickel compared to Shangani at Dambasolwani. And if you can manage to prove that it will, I'm sure you've seen this slide before, but for those who have attended this session, this is just the flow of this packed care maintenance, Anderson Creek development, and these produce a concentrate which should be then fed into a smelter. In addition to our own concentrate, we then use to smelt third-party concentrate from as far afield as Western Australia and China when we were running in the late 90s. Then the smelter product is fed into a refinery, which is a hydrometallurgical plant which produces cathode nickel at 99.99% purity, with copper and cobalt coming out as byproducts. In terms of outlook, like I said, we are still a Trojan, and the Trojan, what we're doing is we continue to blend the high grade and the low grade and feed the mill with a blend. And obviously, cost control is very key for us to maintain our low cost producer status, and also to make sure that the business is viable. We continue to do a lot of initiatives to save the cost. And as the nickel price improves, we're going to then start the smelter, we're going to restart the refinery, and also underslot as the price improves and business fundamentals become much more. We can take questions, but before we do take questions, maybe I can ask the chairman just to update you on what's happening on the broader level of it. Chairman.
I must confess that it feels strange for me to stand before you and not talk about golf, because during the last 35 years that I've been a member here and captain and president of this club, when I stand there I talk about golf, not nickel. Yeah, no, there's not much that's been happening. We've been in regular comms with the joint administrators of ASA. In fact, I've got a telephone conference with them at 5 o'clock today. We kept each other up to date. They've kept us up to date about what's been happening in respect of all those shareholder issues that you're all aware with. And all I can say at this stage is that there's nothing of concern. So for us, from this end, it's business as usual. And we're very privileged to have a very strong management team at both BNC and Peter Rebecca. And the only source of bother is the continuing toxic nature of the politics in our country. And that is affecting us with particular reference to the sovereign risk of the country. It makes it difficult, for the management team and ourselves to access certain, more affordable credit facilities. And we sincerely hope that the political leaders of this country are going to come to their senses and wake up and smell the coffee, because this is not the time for us to be squabbling on anything. Because the main risk that, besides the sovereign risk, is the loss of skills. Because it's not every day that you can wake up and get a world-class metallurgist like Lati, or a mining engineer like Toy, and the support team. So these guys have got choices, they can move on. their skills are much sought after elsewhere. So this is a message that I think we need to drive to the political powers that be, that is not in the long-term interests of the country for this political impasse to continue. But in terms of the day-to-day operations, I'm pleased to say that we're still on very solid ground. I'm particularly sorry, though, that we recently lost a female plant metallurgist, and I emphasize female because we were cheerfully hoping that she's going to carve out a career with us, going forward. But she's off, I believe, to the UK. She's been snapped up by some institution of higher tertiary learning. But we're doing the best we can as a company to retain all the critical skills, because this is a high-tech operation, and without the skills, we're not going to be able to continue performing and meeting the expectations of not only the shareholders, but the other critical stakeholders. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, MD. Okay. The floor is now open for questions. There's a roving microphone somewhere in the back. Please grab it and tell us who you are and who you represent, and proceed with your question.
Thank you. My name is Mbarashi. I work at Old Mutual. I've got 3 questions, if you're willing to indulge me. The first question relates to the publication in the press today. I think it might have been a mistake where your cash flow from operations was negative 21.3 million. If you just look at that, I think it should be positive 21.3 million. Just clarity on that. And then the second issue relates to a key audit. The auditor said that there are no key audit matters in the financials, but they did refer to an issue relating to the possible impairment of the smelter assets. So if you could just have some background on that. I think I'll just end there and then I'll ask my third question following your responses. Thank you.
Probably you may repeat on the first question, on the cash flow.
Yeah, on the publication in today's press, it said cash generated from operations negative 21.3 million. If you look at the press statement, I'm saying was that negative 21.3 was what it was a typo. It should have been positive 21.3 million.
Yeah, it should be a typo. It should be a typo.
All right.
And the next question was about the audit opinion. You're saying there was no key. Sorry.
The audit description was that there might be a possible impairment of smelter assets, but that wasn't included in the actual financials for a provision for the impairment of smelter assets. So I'm just saying, maybe you could just give us some background as to the story behind that. Is there an anticipated impairment of smelter assets?
Yeah, I think you have heard, we've been coming to the market talking about the smelter, but now because of the lack of, what can I say? Let me give the
time now. But we are not to realize any value from smelter at the moment. And see, according to the accounting standards, if you put money there and you are not generating any cash flows from it, you're supposed to impair. I think that's what the auditors are alluding to.
So, in your opinion, maybe the accountants, how big would such an impairment be, given that the initial loan was around 20 million for that asset? That was my third question.
From the valuations we did, what we value are the assets, the payment will probably be in the region. This is ballpark 3 to 5 million or so.
All right, then maybe as a final one, just a trading update, maybe not necessarily the figures, but the elephant in the room. Has ZESA been sympathetic to your operations?
Until Thursday last week, no, we were not spared. July was a very bad month for the company. We were being load shedded every day, 5 megawatts, and program runs on 10 megawatts. So if you are not shedded 5 megawatts, you are left with 5, and you can't run the mine and the plant. So we were really affected part of June, but the whole of July until last week, we only started getting steady power from the weekend. But we have spoken to the government as Chamber of Mines, and we got assurance that for the little power that is available now, the mining industry should be prioritized. And we're seeing that coming from for all the powers that be.
The asset management. My question is, how do you explain the net exchange gains of
which were previously denominated in US dollar, but when the new currency was introduced, then RTGS is foreign currency to us.
Importing currencies in US dollar, I saw there's an increase of about 14% on your cost. I expected maybe to have a flat.
During the greater part of the year, probably up to October, or even up to February, before the introduction of the new currency, the official exchange rate was 1:1. But on the local market, suppliers were not sourcing foreign currency at that rate. And as a result, the costs were increasing. It was in US dollar at that point as well.
So do you expect a decrease going forward on the cost?
On the more reflective exchange rate than 1:1. But probably if things change, it could be a different thing altogether. Yeah.
I think just to add to what Simon is saying, what we're seeing now of late, when we had this change on the interbank compared to what was there on the other unofficial market, and we were buying stuff with the so moving forward. Yeah, I think what we highlight to the government is to from wherever. If we do that, then our problems will be solved. As you will be aware, we as a company surrender 50% of our forex and projections on the nickel price. We think that this year we're going to see prices of between $13,000 to $14,000 per ton. Next year we're going to see prices of 14 maybe to 16. Then after that we should be able to see sustained price of about $17,000 per ton of nickel. You can quote me. and what's driving that is we still the main use of nickel is still stainless steel, and the consumption of stainless steel is still going to maybe maintain or at least improve from where it is. But the additional demand for nickel is going to come in the electrical vehicles, where we'll have batteries which will use nickel, which will use lithium, which use lots of copper. So these vehicles are going to drive the demand for nickel. And that's going to be extra demand. And if you look at the demand and supply will not be adequate. And demand will outstrip supply and the price will go up. Any other question? Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Owen from Inteligo. Maybe just as a follow-on to the nickel price question. Obviously, that has an impact then on the development of your other mining assets. What would you say in terms of maybe the possible outlook or timeline for the further development of your Hunter's asset and other further prospects?
Within the next 3 years, we are going to be doing some work on the Hunter's Road. We need to do some test work in order for us to define the metallurgical plant. We have to do some testing on Hunter's Road. And we will take advantage of those 3 years so that we define the ore, so that we can then, when the price comes up, we can then have a full feasibility and the project will go through the normal stages of looking for financing for the project. Hunter's Road will require a lot of money. It will require in excess of probably 200 million for us to develop it to full potential of producing maybe 10 to 12,000 tons of nickel per annum. But there's still some work to be done there, where we actually hamstrung because of cash flow. But as we improve our cash flows, we are going to do some test work, and then we can then look for money for Hunter's Road. In terms of the smelter, definitely within the next 3 years, if the price goes up like I've indicated, the smelter is going to come online. And we actually have partners who are willing to finance the completion of the smelter in return for buying our mate. So it's actually the refinery. The smelter will produce a product of about 70% and sell a final product. Any other questions?
Asset management on the verge of testing if it's feasible for you.
It's a nickel sulfide ore. This ore body has been in existence since the 1970s, since it was Anglo. But the main problem with that ore body was its hardness. But technology has moved, so that's the test we are doing now to see how we can treat that hard ore and extract the metals. So it is still sulfide ore like Trojan, like Shangani, like Anderson. But it's hard. It's harder. Yeah. Thank you. Any other question? Thank you very much.
Can I just maybe take this opportunity to highlight some of the things that need to happen concurrently with all the other things that Batimanando mentioned? We have in the past emphasized the need for us as a country to revamp our infrastructure, and that has to happen. I mean, we start with the railways, but is view material that came from a federal field, Beira, Maputo, and to get the railway system working again. Because at the moment, it's dysfunctions that are in the business that have been in. Opportunities being missed, for instance, when it comes to restructuring the board of the National Railways of Zimbabwe. And we end up with a whole lot of political appointees on that board who have no clue what it is that needs to be done. Fairly intensively and extensively by the Chamber of Mines. You know, we must move away from this notion of rewarding or continuing to reward the boys or whatever you should call it. The patronage system must just come to an end. We need people serving on boards of state-owned enterprises like the railways, which are critical. People that have got more than a passing idea and interest of what it is that needs to be done. So that's the first risk that we continue to contend with, the logistics of moving bulk commodities from point A to point B. Because right now we have an unsustainable, from a cost effectiveness point of view, of moving all the stuff that Bati was talking about by road from Bindura. It's just simply not sustainable from a, it's too costly. So we need to move that by rail. That's the first thing. Second thing is the power. We can't just overemphasize the need again. And we now see, we felt it very acutely, especially in the last couple of weeks, what happens. South Africa has had its own problems at ESCOM, and recently the South African government injected about, what, 59 billion rand? Or SCB or both. And those Maposa in South Africa were not power, got to pay for it. It's as simple as be the affairs of the country when they come to manage their own affairs. Those are the sort of issues that need to be addressed. I've mentioned quite a bit on that. The source that's there at Hunters Road and Dambasilwane, we have to have access to affordable capital. And capital is a very timid animal. It runs away from anywhere where it's at risk. And how are we going to be able to access the capital that is needed to fund all those laudable projects that Bati talked about if sovereign risk remains at an unsustainably high level as is the situation now? So it's a combination of a whole lot of factors. It's not just us. We're going to continue doing our bit, but we need all of us here, because the brains of this country, we talk about this country having amongst the highest levels of literacy. And those literacy levels reside here, in intellectual capital. So let's start harnessing that intellectual capital appropriately. And from a personal point of view, I've been at the grinding, I've had my nose stuck in the grinding stone since 1974. And I've never had to put out so many fires as I'm doing now. I should be in peaceful retirement at the age of 67 and playing more tennis and golf and other things. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. That brings us to the end of this presentation. Before we part ways, why don't you join us for some eats and some tea outside, please, before you leave. Thank you very much for your attendance.